What's up, everybody? Steve Sallustio back with another episode of Eagles on the Air. Salesian High School is the school that prepares for life, and my guest today is in a unique position to have been prepared by Salesian and then pay it forward by spending his professional career preparing students himself for the next stages of their life. Today's episode, we're going to talk about his ride through multiple Catholic middle schools. We're going to talk about some influential people along his ride through Salesian and his eventual return into helping Salesian High School out a little bit. I'd like to now introduce my guest as none other than the class of 1996's Mr. Tarik Hyman. Tariq, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Listen. Since I came back here, since I started working at Salesian, you've been a good friend. You know, you're a text away. And like I gave away at the very beginning, you've had multiple stops in middle schools. Knowing my role as the admissions director years ago,
right.
I always hitting you up trying to figure out, who's going to come over here. Can I come into your school? But let's not jump ahead because, I talk too much. So this is your show today. I want to start it off very simply by hearing your Salesian story. How did you come to know Salesian back when you were choosing a high school? What was your journey like? And how did Salesian prepare you for the next chapter of your life?
So, truth be told, I never chose Salesian.
Ooh.
Salesian chose me. Back at my alma mater, Nativity of Our Blessed Lady in the Bronx, which is where I grew up, I only knew about Bronx schools, high schools. So back then, it wasn't a tax, it was called the co-op.
Oh, yeah, I took the co-op
exam. And you had to have a certain standards, scores. And I didn't excel projectedly as the choices that I chose wanted. The principal, Dr. Cardia, rest his soul, he spoke with my grandmother and mentioned Salesian. I have a great school where your grandson will potentially excel at. And I remember, I'll never forget the day where I was sitting in the lobby with my grandmother waiting to be interviewed by Mr. Flaherty. And I get called in, I speak with Mr. Flaherty, he looks at my report card, he sees my recommendations, and, why, what can you do for us here that you did at Nativity? And I gave him numerous examples. I was involved in, because also Nativity had a youth ministry, I did volunteer work, my grades always up to par. And he said, if you can do this, what you did at Nativity here at Salesian, you're more than welcome to join. And that's how I came knowing about Salesian High School. They didn't know who Don Bosco was, they didn't know what a Salesian was until that moment. So it was the best moment of my life, the best decision after what happened.
So it seems like you nailed it. You nailed it. You didn't pick Salesian. Salesian picked you.
Salesian picked me.
And it seems like it ended up being a positive experience. So tell me a little bit more about your ride. So you found it, all right? So your grandma got you here. I'm sure you eventually registered up over here. Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about your experience within those 4 years.
So just like any freshman, you're a newer person again. You're learning to navigate the school. So I was a little bit behind the scenes. I wasn't as much as involved. It wasn't until later, my freshman year, now into my sophomore year, is when I started becoming involved in extracurricular activities, especially with Mr. Viteri, when he had the yearbook. So that's when my little stardom started to happen and become more involved in other venues when Salesian used to host the principals' dinners and give tours. So that's where I started to help out in that, give tours and talk with other principals. And then I remember Mr. Flaherty asked me one time if I would go back to Nativity as a student to talk with the students about my experience at Salesian at this moment, and so that way we can get more future Salesians into Salesian High School. And then it just grew more and more. Like by the time I became a senior, that everyone knew who I was. I knew who everyone was. I was very involved and left here with a Silver Eagle.
Oh, Silver Eagle! Wow. You know what? I see that board right in the main lobby, and I'm sure I noticed your name up there. But I'm glad you just mentioned that. And here's an example of a Silver Eagle right here on the set. This is Salesian High School's highest honor for a graduating senior, given at graduation each year.
Yes.
Wow! Shout out Silver Eagle.
As a matter of fact, when piggyback to the interview with Mr. Flaherty, I did tell him, I said, I will not disappoint you. I will make you proud. And I remember at graduation, when I did get the Silver Eagle, I said, do you remember back at that interview when we first, because I remember it just like yesterday. And I said, you see, here it is.
That's it.
So, yes.
You put in that work.
I put in that work.
I love it. I love it. And Salesian was probably, we're around the same age, so obviously I wasn't working here, but, it seems like it was Salesian's, Salesian benefited from you coming here.
I was destined.
And tell me, like off script right now, tell me it doesn't connect you so much more to your school when you are involved outside the classroom.
Oh my gosh.
Right? It's like night and day.
It's totally night and day. I'm totally interconnected. It's, man, I can't tell how many students, because it's been over 20 years I've been in Catholic education, that having multiple students, oh my gosh, Mr. Hyman, I'm so happy, you had me come to Salesian. Or their parents, especially the moms. Dads, but it's always the moms, oh, gracias, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Yeah.
And what's great is that we see it like in real time. Like right now, we're filming the podcast. We have a beautiful podcast studio here. It doubles as the room that our students use for AM Salesian. But, this is after school. It's like mid-afternoon right now. It's like 4:30 right now, p.m. And, you look outside. There's still kids like roaming the hallways. Like school ended 2 hours ago. And there's kids still going around. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, wow, like these kids building a great high school experience. Yes. Like, isn't that all we want for them?
That's all we want for them. I felt like, so it's true when they say Salesian is a home, it really is a home. There were nights I was here to 8, 9 o'clock, whatever venue, activity, I was here and then going home to do homework up at 1 o'clock in the morning to come back here, do it all over again. So yes, it's definitely a home here where you feel welcome and invited 24/7.
Absolutely, 100%. And that theme is just repeating,
correct,
episode after episode on the podcast. And anytime young alums or even guys that graduated years ago come back and say. But let's talk a little bit more now about your professional career.
Yes.
Because you, like me, have given pretty much your professional life to Catholic education.
Correct.
I've had the one stop here at Salesian for the last 20 years. You've had a few stops.
So
run me through it real quick. Where have you been? Where have you gone?
So I started at Holy Rosary in Portchester. And prior to that, because I was working at the summer camp. And that's all because of Brother Rich Rosin, where he knew I wanted to work with children. And everybody knew I wanted to be a teacher. So that was hands down. So he says, work with me at a summer camp up in Portchester. And I said, okay. So I went with him. And that's how the groundwork started. It started from that summer camp. We're at Holy Rosary. And then before you know it, I was subbing. And before you know it, I was a teacher at Holy Rosary. And then they merged with Corpus Christi. And then my next avenue was at St. Peter and Paul in Mount Vernon. I did that for 3 years, middle school. And then big closures of how many Catholic schools? Yep. So now I ended up in Harlem at St. Anne's. And then right after that, then the Arch had their early buyout for principals, and numerous people took. And that's where I was summoned to take up school at St. Elizabeth's in Washington Heights. Mm-hmm. And I was principal there. At the same token, same time that happened, I was also in the current fellows for my master's at Fordham. So I ran a school while going to school. So that was a big juggle right there. And then I asked, please, to take a break. So I went back into teaching, and that's where my alma mater, there was a position at Nativity. So that was one of my happiest moments, because I've always dreamt of teaching at my alma mater. And then I became the principal of my alma mater. So that made me even happier. And then COVID happened. So multiple closures of schools. And then I went to St. Barnabas for a year. And then I'm at St. Raymond's for the past 5 years. So, yeah, I've been journeying around through different schools and different counties and different boroughs.
Well, and now if I'm going to jump in here and let everybody know that you are now the assistant principal at St. Raymond's Elementary School.
Elementary, correct. Middle school assistant principal. We have 3 assistant principals. We have for the early childhood.
Great.
We have for the elementary level. Mm-hmm. And then we have for the middle school. When I was hired in 2021, it was for the elementary level. My colleague was pulled to take a school for just temporarily, which ended up becoming permanent. And then that's when I moved up into the middle school.
Well, that's great. I mean, it was probably tough for you going to St. Elizabeth's and taking that principal's job, but it had to be a good feeling knowing that the Arch selected you.
The Arch selected me.
So that that's got to make you feel like you've done a pretty good job in the tasks that you were given.
It sure has. It sure has.
And that's got to be a testament to your work ethic and to the finished product. I'm sure your kids tested well. I'm sure you put in the work in your professional life, same as you did here.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah, that's great. And so we met on can't even tell you where you were, what school, but I just remember meet you a long time ago. And then, your cell phone went into my phone, and from then it was just texting. Can I come speak to the 8th graders? Can I come speak to the 8th graders?
It was from nativity years. Probably.
Nativity. I always loved going into nativity. Yes. And even when you got to St. Ray's, I used to love, hey, I'm outside looking for a spot, and boom, there you are in the parking lot. I was like,
ready to open arms.
Always.
Yes.
And guess what? You know what you sound like there? You sound like a kid that was taught in the Salesian way.
Yes.
Ready to welcome, ready to greet. And that just leads me directly to your particular role in encouraging how many kids to attend Salesian High School.
Yes.
I don't know how many.
Oh my God, I've lost count because with the many years I spent working in Archdiocese, and just listing the amount of schools I've worked at, I can't tell how many students have come to Salesian under my guidance.
Yeah. I know it because, live, I'd be speaking to the 8th graders, and you're standing right next to me, jumping in on the presentation. He's not lying. Listen to him right now. Watch this thing. And you were always so supportive, and knowing that, St. Raymond, especially, I'm staying in present day. St. Raymond's Middle School is. You guys do a beautiful job there.
Thank you.
The building looks great. The auditorium is great. You always give me a great space. You always gave me a great space to speak to your boys in. And just knowing that you're there,
right.
With the same love for this school, that you have the same love for the school that I do, right. I said, we're going to kill it in this presentation. We're going to kill it. And it benefited so many kids.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need more Tarik Hymans out there pumping Salesian. Let's keep that admissions office flowing.
I'll do my best.
But I know you had a good ride through Salesian. They don't give out these Silver Eagles to just anybody.
No.
Those aren't given out. Those are earned.
As a matter of fact, I vividly remember my senior year because we were a very competitive class. And I remember them telling us that there were 12 nominations that year. And even just they kept regrouping and kept listing, to narrow down the process of who would be recipients of that award. And then we found out it was 4 people. But obviously no names were mentioned, and it wasn't until graduation when Mr. Flaherty, because they never said the name, they did a description, autobio of the person. And every time I kept hearing, I said, oh, that sounds like me. Oh, that sounds like me. And then Ms. Flaherty reads a name, and I'm like, wait, what? And it wasn't until the last profile when he read, and it was just one clue that gave it away, and I was like, that's me when he mentioned St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yes.
Where I'll be going in the fall. And that's how I know. I was like, that's me. That is me. So yeah, it was tough, but I was one of the lucky 4.
It was probably a very proud moment, and I can imagine it was very well deserved.
Thank you. Yes.
So Salesian High School put an emphasis this year. We put an emphasis on the word prepare this year. Mm-hmm. As a staff, we want to prepare our students for whatever's next, whether it's school, whether it's a professional career, whether it's family. We want to make sure that our students are prepared.
Correct.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Considering you had such a great experience here at school, who is on your Salesian High School Mount Rushmore? I want to know if you had any influential teachers or administrators, a staff member, somebody that was especially influential to you and perhaps prepared you, even though it's our theme this year.
Right.
I come to find out doing all these podcasts that guys graduated here 30, 40, 50 years ago talking about how certain people helped prepare them for what was next in life. So who's on your Mount Rushmore, and how did that person or they prepare you for what was next?
So this was a tough one for me because I have quite a few at Salesian, but hands down first was Mr. Flaherty, because he's the one who opened his arms, to me, accepted me at his school. So, and I was forever grateful, for that moment. And then Sister Barbara. Sister Barbara was my freshman math teacher. Very tough. Very tough, but she inspired me. It was her inspiration for me to become a math teacher. And she didn't know until later, afterwards that, this is what I want to do. I want to be a teacher, but now I want to be a math teacher. And it was the guidance under Sister Barbara. So much so that she's the one who recommended for me to go to St. Thomas Aquinas. And Sister Barbara herself gave me a personal tour of St. Thomas Aquinas. She drove me there and gave me a tour and introduced me to fellow staffs and colleagues that she worked with in the past, and said, "This is the school I want you to go to." And so I thank Sister Barbara for that, and that's the school I went to from undergrad. Father John Serio, we were his first group of kids, young men, excuse me. We were the first group of young men when we started here in '92. So we had a nice 4-year run together. Who else? Oh my gosh, it's just endless. It's endless influential. Like I said, Brother Rich, he was my guidance counselor. He too knew I wanted to be a teacher. So because of him, I wouldn't have been working at Holy Rosary, because it was through the summer camp at Holy Rosary. And then I joined the parish at Holy Rosary, because now Father Tim Zach, Father Tim Plock, some more Salesian priests. So I became active in youth ministry. I was even under the guidance of Father Tim Zach, working with the youth ministry and doing extracurricular activities after school, and then working as a program director under Father Tim Zach. And I was only 21 years old. So those are true testament that they had faith in me. And I had faith in them too, but just the fact that they entrusted in me to have these leadership roles, even at such a young age as 21, who was running a camp at 21 years old? Tarik Hyman.
Well, that's great. I mean, he saw something in you and gave you that responsibility.
Yes.
I mean, it's not, it's, again, just a testament to somebody saw something in you, said, this kid's got something.
Yes.
And look, it led to, I think all this led to such a successful career in the world of education for you. I love the fact that you've never lost touch with Salesian High School. No. And judging by some of the names you just listed, that is an impressive Mount Rushmore, I have to tell you. You named some heavy hitters there. But you know what? This is, I mean, for the sake of time, I want to talk more about all of them. Right. And John Flaherty knows I love him.
Yes.
All right, one of the most influential people in my life, John Flaherty, absolute legend. Father John Serio.
Yes.
Baptized my kids.
Oh, wow.
All right, so there's more love for Father John than you can imagine.
Right.
Father Tim Zach, Father Tim Plock. You're talking about former Salesian provincials.
Right.
So these guys are powerful.
Yes.
All right, with love for Salesian and love for the Salesians in their hearts. And I'm so glad they passed it on to you, because now we get to see the fruits of that. I left one person out because she's going to get special distinction right now. You mentioned Sister Barbara.
Sister Barbara.
And I'm going to talk to everybody right now when I say Sister Barbara's name does not get mentioned enough on this podcast.
Oh, my gosh. Sister Barbara is the true OG.
Sister Barbara Wright was my first math department chairperson. Okay? She is an angel, that lady.
Yes, yes.
She is an absolute incredible person, retired now.
Yes.
And spent years, 30, 40 years, whatever it was, as the assistant principal here. And there are just too many people to name that come back and want to make sure that Sister Barbara is still good.
Yes.
She is an amazing woman, strong, old school.
Yes.
When she was in the class, she stayed in the classroom until her retirement. She was tough.
She was very tough. Matter of fact, she didn't even have a teacher's manual. She had a regular student manual. I'm like, how did she know the answer like that so fast? Because she used to call you up to the board and show the work. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't let me get the answer wrong.
Yes, but she was always a person who would listen. To a student, to a staff member. Sister Barbara Wright did so much good for this school in the years that she was here. I wish more people, I know more people, a lot of people out there think really highly of her. I want to talk more about Sister Barbara on this podcast, because I think she's just that incredible of a person.
She's amazing. She's amazing. And all the names I had just mentioned, which I can't forget this, when my grandmother passed, every one of those names I just mentioned, they were at my wake. and they were at my funeral.
I'll bet.
So that's how when we say that Salesian is a family, that's the true definition of what family is. That they were there to support me. If there's anything that I can do for you, please let us know. We're always here for you. That was all those names I mentioned.
That's what you get when you come here. You get family.
Yeah.
That's it. You're going to get a great education. You're going to get great experiences. You're going to get taken care of as a young man here as if you're family. Yes. And your family is going to know that.
Yes.
All right? I think that is probably one of the most powerful things you could say.
I agree.
And so Tariq, you've been such a great ambassador for Salesian High School. It seems like you never left. You've also returned to us in multiple capacities. A lot of times because I call you.
What does he want now?
I say you better not start screening my calls. Right? So I know that you've come back to serve on a bunch of committees.
Yes.
I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I know I've had you back to speak at, for example, the scholarship recipients dinner.
Right.
I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me for that.
But I want to give a special shout out to you because most recently, we're filming this right now, and we're about a month away from Salesian High School's annual President's Dinner, in which you are getting honored with the Bishop Ernest Coppola Award for Alumni Achievement. What was it like getting the call from Father Jim User saying, Tariq, we'd like to give you this honor?
So I remember this day like it was yesterday because it happened during the day that my students were taking the tax exam. So I was proctoring, and I saw Salesian High School, and it said Father Jim, and I said, okay, what's going on? So I stepped out, and Father Jim, how are you? How are things? Great, Father. And then he mentioned about the President's Dinner. So I thought he was going to ask me to be, one of his guests, but he's like, no. Unanimously, your name was selected, and I was just like, wow, I'm speechless. And then he started laughing because he's like, you'd be speechless? And I said yes. I'm honored. I'm flattered. I'm elated. All those words that I can't believe. Who would have thought? And then when I looked at my silver eagle, I'm like, wow, this will be 30 years. Mm-hmm. So this is like an anniversary to me, to receive. So yeah, I'm very humbled and blessed and grateful to be being a recipient of this award.
Well, not just your time here, but your time spent within Catholic education, especially at the elementary and middle school level. I can say here on camera that this award is well deserved. It is going into the right hands at the 2026 President's Dinner. So congratulations from me.
Thank you.
Tariq,
you.
I don't want to take up any more of your time. I want to get one last message out of you. Mm-hmm. I want to hear if you have anything to say before we go to students here at the school or to an 8th grader that right now might be on the fence considering coming to Salesian. Any parting words for that young man?
Sure. So every high school says their school is a special school. What makes our school different than any other school is that we are a true family. We are a community. We follow the mission of St. Don Bosco, the mission of helping others, helping the poor, just mission driven. That's what we really are. We're mission driven. And you're okay. You'll be okay here. Salesian has your back. We'll support you through good and bad. You've heard my experiences through good ones and through, like I mentioned with my grandma with her death, We are truly a family, and come on here to Salesian. You'll be very proud, and you will never regret it.
I love it. I love it. I think that message is going to resound. I hope every 8th grader out there sees this, watches it, and takes what you said to heart.
Yes.
So Tariq, just one last final thank you from me. I know that we've been trying to get you on. I know you got a very busy schedule. I don't want to take up any more of your time, so one last thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you.
Guys, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great time just chatting it up with Tariq. For everybody at home, I want to thank you for watching. This has been another great episode of Eagles on the Air.